2 in the morning on US 285 north of Pecos, and you're doing 75 on 2 lanes with no median because the sign says you can and the road's been dead empty for 20 minutes. Then 2 headlights in your lane, a loaded oil tanker easing out of a lease road, and it is not moving the way you are moving. No moon, no shoulder to take, nothing on either side but mesquite and the red glow of a flare stack a mile off. There's maybe a second and a half of road left between the front of your truck and the front of his, and every foot of that gap is closing at 130 miles an hour combined. That's the whole thing. That is Texas after dark. This is a list of 12 Texas roads that professional drivers plan their entire night around avoiding. And here's the one idea I want you to carry all the way down to number 1, because it's the thread running through every road on here. Almost none of these are what you'd honestly call a bad piece of road. Texas builds the fastest, straightest, most confident highways in America. 75 and 80 on the sign, wide lanes, pavement smooth as a kitchen table. The thing that kills out here is almost never a curve or a cliff. It's a difference in speed. Something moving fast meeting something that isn't. A wall of stopped traffic. A tanker turning across your lane, a flooded dip in the road, a 500-pound animal, and the dark is the part that hides the slow thing until it's already in your windshield. Every road on this list is a version of that one sentence. Hold on to it. There's a storm coming up on this list that turns a clear blue afternoon black in about 90 seconds. There's a county with 60 people living in it that logged over 100 wrecks in a single year, and sitting at number 1 is a road the people who live on it stopped calling by its highway number a long time ago. They gave it a different name, and they do not say it as a joke. Let's count it down. Number 12. Interstate 35 through the middle of the state, San Antonio, Austin, Waco, the spine that every load moving between Mexico and the Midwest gets funneled onto. Start with the number that TxDOT and the Department of Public Safety don't put on a billboard. On the stretch studied between 2018 and 2022, 643 people died on I-35. It's rated the second deadliest road in the entire state, and the only reason it's second instead of first is a road you'll meet later. And it doesn't kill you with anything exotic. I-35 kills you with a lane that stopped when you thought it was still moving. This is a freight corridor squeezed straight through downtown Austin, wrapped in permanent construction, and the pattern that keeps repeating is the ugliest version of everything behind this video. Full speed traffic arriving at a wall of stop traffic in the dark in a work zone. In March of 2025, on southbound 35 near Palmer Lane late at night, a tractor trailer came into a line of stopped cars. 5 people were killed. 2 of them were children. 11 more went to the hospital. Nothing about that road was broken. The pavement was fine. The gap between 70 and 0 was the weapon. And here's the part that should bother you. I-35 is the easy one. It's the road every Texas driver already knows. The teacher. The hill that burns the overconfidence out of you before the real roads get their turn. Because 11 of these are worse. Number 11. You already know this one in your body if you've run it. Interstate 45 through Houston, the Gulf Freeway. The white knuckle feeling of dragging a loaded trailer down a canyon of 18-wheelers while everything around you speeds up, slams down, and knifes across 3 lanes for an exit nobody signaled. That feeling is earned. Between 2010 and 2016, I-45 averaged nearly 60 fatal wrecks for every 100 miles of road, which put it among the 3 deadliest interstates in the whole country. One national study clocked it as the second most dangerous highway in America by deaths per mile. And on one 11-mile piece of the Gulf Freeway alone, researchers counted more than 4 fatalities for every single mile of road. And here's the local number that stops people cold. Right around 1 in 4 of every single traffic death in the city of Houston happens on this one highway, a quarter of them on one road. At night, it changes character completely. The volume thins, but the speed climbs, the impaired drivers and the street takeover crowd come out, and the Gulf Freeway turns from a slow grind into a high-speed shooting gallery with a concrete wall on each side and nowhere to run. The danger here isn't the road going wrong. It's that this road packs more fast meeting slow into every mile than almost anywhere in the state, and the dark just turns the wick up. That's the city version of the problem. Now we head out into the empty country where the whole thing flips inside out, because out there, when it goes wrong, nobody is coming to help. Number 10. Read a week of crash reports off US 287 between Fort Worth and Amarillo, and something jumps out before the causes even do. The times: 1 a.m., 2:15 in the morning, 2:55. This This road has a schedule, and the schedule is the dead middle of the night. 287 is the freight lifeline of the Panhandle, the straight shot hauling oilfield gear, cattle, and cross-country loads between North Texas and Denver, and long stretches of it are still just 2 lanes, one each way, 75 miles an hour, with nothing but a painted stripe between you and whatever's coming the other direction. So the crash that defines it is the head-on. A driver drifts or fatigues or comes onto the highway going the wrong direction in the dark, and closing speed does the rest. This past August, near Headley, a man got onto 287 driving straight into the oncoming lanes just after 1 in the morning. A pickup towing a trailer tried to get out of the way and couldn't, near head-on. The wrong-way vehicle caught fire. Then a third car hit the debris in the road. That's not a freak event out here, that's the road's signature, written one more time. Go looking and you'll find the same report over and over. A Hyundai northwestbound near Amarillo just before 3 in the morning, a Freightliner coming the other way in the wrong lane, the young driver dead at the scene, the truckers walking away. Different names, same road, same hour. The mix is what makes it lethal. Exhausted long-haul drivers and fast four-wheelers sharing the same undivided pavement at the exact hour the human body most wants to be asleep. On an interstate, you get a median. On 287, the only thing between you and 150 combined miles an hour is one good decision by a stranger you will never see coming. And some nights, that stranger is asleep too. At least here, you can still see him coming. On the next road, the sky itself decides you don't get to see anything at all. Number 9. It's night on Interstate 27 south of Amarillo, and the wind picks up. Not weather you can see, just a wall of brown that rolls across the highway off the open plains, and in about 90 seconds, it's swallows your headlights whole. Now you're steering into a brown-black nothing at 75 on faith, and there was never a cloud in the sky. The Panhandle has a name for it. They call it a blackout dust storm, and unlike most things on this list, this one is a mass casualty machine. You don't have to imagine what it does. The daylight version is on record. On March 14, 2025, winds gusting to 83 miles an hour flipped semis like toys on I-40 through Amarillo and dropped visibility to 0 across the region. Dozens of vehicles piled up on I-27 near Canyon. West of Bovina, a dust-driven crash on Highway 60 killed someone. Same storm, same afternoon. Later that year, another Panhandle dust event brought 42 crashes in one day and killed 3 more. And it's nothing new. Back in 2016, in a dust blackout on I-40 near Conway, 13 vehicles piled up and a woman in the backseat of a car was crushed to death when it got pinned between 2 tractor trailers. That's the mechanism in one line. You cannot slow for a wall you're already inside of, and the truck behind you is inside it too. Now take away the daylight those drivers at least had. The Panhandle wind doesn't need falling snow to blind you, and it doesn't need the sun either, but at least a dust storm announces itself. The thing waiting on the next road gives you no warning at all, and it isn't weather, it's alive. Quick one, if this list is doing its job, a like on it helps the next driver find it before he finds one of these roads the hard way. Number 8. Everybody driving Texas at night watches for deer, and they're right to. A deer's eyes catch your headlights and hand you half a second of warning. The thing that actually totals trucks on the back roads of South and Central Texas gives you none of that, because it barely has any eye shine at all. Feral hogs. Texas has more of them than any state in the country, millions of them, and a grown boar runs 100 to 400 pounds, jet black, built low to the ground, with its whole mass sitting right about at your bumper. They move at dusk and all through the night. They cross heaviest in the fall and winter, and here's the detail that gets people killed. They travel in family groups called sounders. So the driver who swerves the first hog puts his tire straight into the second and the third one right behind it. Hitting one of these at 70 is like hitting a rolling engine block you never saw. No shine, no warning, just an impact that can throw a rig off the road. Vehicle collisions with hogs run around $36 million in damage a year in this state, and that figure doesn't count the people hurt and killed in trucks that rolled trying to miss them. It's the same law as everything else here. Something heavy and slow, something fast, no cue to read, and the dark taking away the one warning your eyes were counting on. On the next road, your eyes quit on you for the opposite reason. Out there's nothing for them to land on at all. Number 7. Out here, the question isn't how sharp the curve is, it's how far away the ambulance is. Interstate 10 across far west Texas. Fort Stockton, Van Horn, the 100-mile runs of creosote and heat shimmer, is the deadliest interstate in the state by total deaths. And the reason a wreck out here is so much more likely to kill you than the same wreck in a city comes down to 2 things: speed and distance. You're doing 80 on a road engineered to make 80 feel like 40. And if it goes wrong, the nearest trauma care might be an hour of empty highway away. Then there's what the road does to your head. Straight, flat, unchanging, with nothing close enough to the window to blur past and give your brain a sense of speed, you quietly lose your read on how fast you're going and how long you've actually been awake. At night, it's worse, because your headlights land on nothing and come back with nothing, and the white line starts to hypnotize you. Drivers drift, off the road or across into the oncoming lane, wide awake and not in any real sense present. Drop a deer or a stalled car or a slow oil field truck into that trance at 80, and there's no room, no time, and nobody near enough to find you fast. The desert doesn't attack you. It just hands you enough speed, enough straight road, and enough distance from help to hang yourself with the 2-second laps. And that's the empty version. Take that same distance and that same distance from help, then pack it wall to wall with the heaviest traffic in Texas, and you get the next one. Number 6. This road runs on one number, and the number is the price of a barrel of oil. Interstate 20 through Midland and Odessa is the main artery of the Permian Basin, and when oil is up, it fills with something no interstate was ever designed to hold. Tens of thousands of heavy trucks, driven hard by people paid by the load instead of by the hour. Reeves County, which 20 runs straight through, has become one of the deadliest counties in the entire nation for truck-involved crashes. Something like 15,000 trucks a day grind through Pecos alone, and across the Permian, roughly half of all crashes now involve a commercial truck. And here's the piece that really lands after dark. The pay structure itself is the danger. When you only make money by finishing the run, sleep is money left on the table. So the road fills up with fatigued drivers at every hour, nodding off, drifting, blowing a high-speed merge onto an interstate where everybody's already over the limit. The Permian holds about 1.5% of the people in Texas and produces 12% of the state's road deaths. Let that sit for a second. One region, a rounding error of the population, carrying 1/8 of all the dying. One of the state highways feeding it, 349, saw its crash count nearly double in a single decade as the oil field traffic climbed, and it's projected to keep climbing for years. And I-20 is the paved, divided, 4-lane part of all this, the good road. Because the roads that branch off it into the oil field are where this gets genuinely frightening, and we'll stand on 2 of them before this is over. Number 5, turn around, don't drown. Texas put that on road signs in exactly those words because of the country we're about to talk about. The hill country, the crescent of steep, rocky land that curves from up near Dallas down through San Antonio and out to the west, carries a grim nickname earned over 100 years, Flash Flood Alley. The rock doesn't soak up rain, so when a storm parks over the hills, the water sheets off fast, the shallow creeks come up in minutes, and it all pours down onto the low water crossings. Those dips where a farm-to-market road just runs straight across a creek bed with no bridge at all. Texas leads the entire nation in flood deaths, and it isn't close. Across one recent 60-year stretch, more than 1,000 people drowned in Texas floods, far ahead of any other state. And this is the number that makes it a driver's problem and not a swimmer's. 58% of those flood deaths were people in vehicles. Most of them at night or right before dawn, in the dark, with the rain already killing the visibility, coming up on a crossing that looked like wet pavement and was really moving water deep enough and strong enough to lift a loaded truck sideways off the road. Water rising a foot every 5 minutes does not care what your trailer weighs, and you cannot tell how deep it is or how hard it's running in your headlights. Not until you're in it. And by then, the road you were counting on is no longer underneath you. The next road doesn't rise up to take you. It just quietly erases itself. Number 4. This one doesn't ice over, doesn't crumble, doesn't climb a mountain. It just disappears. Interstate 10 along the Gulf Coast around Beaumont sits in the wet air rolling off the water. And when the sea fog settles in, thickest in the hours before dawn, the road can go from wide open to zero visibility inside a few hundred feet. On Thanksgiving morning in 2012, in fog so thick that the responding deputies couldn't even tell they were dealing with more than one wreck, the cars and trucks on I-10 southwest of Beaumont just kept driving into each other. Up to 140 vehicles. 18-wheelers ended up stacked on top of cars. A married couple, 60 and 64 years old, were killed when a tractor-trailer crushed their SUV. 80 to 90 people were carried to hospitals. And the thing that turned a foggy morning into a catastrophe was simple. Most of those drivers were still running near the posted 70 because the pavement felt fine and the truck felt fine right up until the brake lights showed up 10 feet in front of them with no time left to use. And that wasn't a one-off. This stretch shuts down for fog again and again. Crashes closing I-10 around Beaumont in the pre-dawn hours are a regular line in the local news. Most of them the same story of drivers who couldn't see the wreck until they were in it. The Galveston Causeway down the coast is so notorious for this that people there will tell you the sea fog can drop you to literally zero. It's the purest version of the entire list. Nothing wrong with the road, nothing wrong with the truck, just fast meetings stopped inside a cloud you couldn't see into. The 3 roads left are the ones drivers don't argue about. Number 3. Here's a statistic that shouldn't be able to exist. Loving County, out on the western edge of the Permian, is the least populated county in the whole United States. About 60 people live there. In 2016, it recorded 18 traffic accidents for the entire year. The next year, as the oil boom hit full stride, that number jumped to 103. 103 wrecks in a county of 60 souls. The roads doing that, State Highway 302 and the 2-lane oil field routes around Mentone and Orla, were never built for any of it. A lot of them started life as dirt tracks and got a thin skin of asphalt laid over the top. And now they carry a river of tankers and sand haulers and crew trucks down 2 lanes that go black as the inside of a pocket the moment the sun drops. Crashes on 302 and the corridors feeding it rank among the 5 deadliest in the country. And out here, the closing speed problem comes with no safety net whatsoever. A loaded truck pulling out of a lease road, a worn-out driver crossing the center line, and the nearest help is a long, long way off on a road nobody else is coming down tonight. The interstate at least gave you a median and a prayer. Out here, you get neither. But the single worst pileup on this entire list didn't happen out in the oil country at all. It happened in a city, on a bridge, in the space of a few freezing minutes. Number 2, 6 o'clock in the morning, February 11th, 2021, Fort Worth. It's been below freezing for 36 straight hours, and a light freezing mist has been settling on the elevated toll lanes of Interstate 35 West, the raised bridge section, the part that ices first, the part the crews that morning never treated. Drivers are coming onto it doing full highway speed because the road looks black and wet, not white. The toll operator's own data later showed the average speed on that stretch had topped 100 miles an hour before any of it started. At about 6 a.m. near the Northside Drive exit, a vehicle touches the barrier and spins. The next one can't stop. Then a truck comes into the disabled cars and everything behind it for 1,100 feet on a bridge with concrete walls on both sides and no shoulder anywhere to escape to, folds into one moving wreck. When it finally stopped, 133 vehicles were involved. 6 people were dead. 2 of them had gotten out of their cars and were standing on the pavement when the pileup reached them. 36 more were hospitalized. The National Transportation Safety Board spent 2 years and more than 1,000 pages on it, and the finding underneath all of it is the thesis of this whole video. An invisible hazard on a road that felt completely normal met at a speed nobody thought to adjust for because there was no cue anywhere telling them to. Black ice on a Texas bridge gives your hands nothing to feel. By the time you know it's there, you're already part of it. Now take everything you just heard, the invisible hazard, the speed nobody adjusted for, the road that felt completely fine, and put it on one rural 2-lane, every single night with no city, no bridge crew, and no help for 100 miles. That's number 1. And number 1, the people who drive it for a living don't call it US 285, they call it Death Highway, and out here nobody says that with a smile. This is the 2-lane road running north out of Pecos toward the New Mexico line, straight through the richest oil field in America, and by a lot of measures, it is the deadliest stretch of highway in the country for the people who haul on it. Every single thing on this list stacks up right here. The road was commissioned back in 1926, and much of it was first mapped as unpaved earth road, laid down for a farmer and a grain wagon, never in anyone's imagination for what it carries now, which is something like 10 to 15,000 vehicles a day, most of them heavy, on one lane each way with no median. When the fracking boom came, the traffic multiplied, and the road simply didn't. In 2017 alone, 93 people died on the Texas portion of 285, 93 on a rural 2-lane in the middle of nowhere. nowhere. And the wreck that owns this road is the one we opened the video with, the head-on. An exhausted oilfield driver at 2 in the morning, a fast pickup coming the other way, a tanker easing out of a lease road across both lanes, and the closing speed of 2 vehicles on an undivided highway, which is the single most survivable looking and least survivable thing in all of driving. The Permian is 1.5% of the state's people, carrying 12% of its road deaths, and 285 is the black heart of it. No median to catch a mistake, no shoulder to run to, no lighting to see by, and no ambulance close enough to matter. It's the fastest, emptiest, most confident feeling road out there, and that is exactly the trap. Every single thing that makes 285 feel safe at 75 is a thing that makes it lethal the second a slow object shows up in your lane. And the grimmest detail of all is that the death toll on 285 rises and falls with the price of oil. When a barrel climbs, more trucks pour onto the road and more people die on it. The highway keeps a ledger, and it's written in crude. The locals renamed it for a reason. They got tired of counting. Now look back down the whole list and the same shape keeps showing up. A wall of stopped cars on 35. A tanker turning across 285. A flooded dip in the hill country. A hog with no shine in its eyes. An iced bridge in Fort Worth. A cloud you drove straight into near Beaumont. Not one of them is a bad road. That's what makes Texas different from the mountain states and the ice states. Up there, the road turns against you and your hands feel it coming through the wheel. Here, the road stays perfect and fast and sure of itself. And the thing that kills you is simply moving at a different speed than you are, waiting in a dark you couldn't see far enough into. Every driver in every one of these stories was on good pavement, doing a legal number when the gap closed before they ever knew it was there. So that's the 12. From the freeway everybody hates to the 2-lane they renamed after what it does. Drop the Texas road that taught you respect down in the comments for the driver running it behind you tonight. Fill the tank, watch the closing speed, and get home.